Five, four, three, two, one.
Hello, ladies and gents, and welcome to Tell the Damn Story, the show that celebrates the trials and tribulations, the successes and failures of our writing journey in hopes of making your writing journey easier. I'm Chris Ryan, award-winning hybrid writer, and he, that guy there, is award-winning writer of classic characters like Sherlock Holmes, Scooby-Doo, Archie, Batman, and his own 1930s soldier of fortune, Aaron Blackjack Day. Ladies and gentlemen, you've been dreaming about it, and here he is, Alex Simmons.
Yes, those nightmares can go away now that I'm actually here. Thank you so much.
That's
Hey,
all
Chris
right.
Ryan, we are back.
We're back, and
Yes, we're
today's
back.
episode is going to talk about hero introductions.
Yes,
You know,
because we're heroes. Oh, no, we're
well,
not.
how a hero is introduced helps to hook the reader or the viewer, helps set tone, sets the challenge, and also starts the character arc. So it sounds, oh my God, that's so hard to do. But we'll see from these three examples that once you have your character, the intro starts to introduce itself to you, and then all you're really doing is typing it as best you can. There you go. You think I fooled him on that one?
Well, you sound like you know what you were talking about, kind of, sort
There
of.
we go.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about three different types of hero introductions, and I've made up coined titles for the method. Right? It's going to be the referencing the hero before the reveal of the hero, as seen in Casablanca, classic film from Alex's Wayback Machine. And then we're going to see the exterior hero, the guy or girl or whoever being a hero, before we see the interior hero. And we're going to use Raiders of the Lost Ark for that one.
We're still way back in here.
At this point, still way back in, right?
Yeah.
And then we're going to see the interior hero before we see the exterior hero. And we're going to use for that Captain America, the First Avenger. So it's all
Free film
films
deal.
today.
Yeah.
All films. We're having a film fest today.
Yes.
All right.
Film.
Actually, the first time I experienced referencing the hero before seeing the hero wasn't really a hero. It was a great character, and it was a play that I was in over here in Bergen County. Players, it was a Neil Simon play called Proposals. Not one of his greatest hits, but a good solid play. And I didn't come in, my character, Vinny Bovasi, didn't come in until the last moment of Act One. But there are references to this person's impending arrival, the whole first act, so that by the time I backed onto the stage, the place went wild. I didn't have to do anything yet because the anticipation was so big. So that's what I mean by referencing the hero before the reveal of the hero. And in this case, in Casablanca, the hero is an anti-hero, but definitely the centerpiece of the movie. All right. So what happens is you see Rick's Cafe, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is the first reference of the hero, right? You see a bunch of stuff and it focuses in on Rick's Cafe. The hero's name is Rick, right? So as you go in, there's a lot of stuff going on. This is Casablanca, I would say, is the Middle East, right? Is that a good way for
It's yeah, pardon me. Yes, it's the Middle East, and it's 1943 when the movie
right.
released.
World War II is happening,
Yeah.
right? And everybody in these opening scenes are looking for safety, or they're looking to buy their way out of Casablanca as the Germans has begun to take over this area and to some safe destination. And the other thing that everybody wants is they want a moment of Rick's time. Have you seen Rick? Can I possibly talk to Rick and all that? And the name Rick rings through the first, I don't know, 5 minutes. I don't know if it goes as far as 10 minutes, but finally, there's this sequence where the camera comes in and focuses on a bill. There's some question with the bill and all that sort of stuff. And it's put before somebody in a tuxedo, like white jacket and that kind of thing. And a hand enters the frame with a cigarette and puts the cigarette down and picks up a pen, writes something, Rick, puts the pen down, picks up the cigarette. The camera is still on the hand. And it brings up, and the camera follows the hand up to Humphrey Bogart, and there is Rick. It's a great introduction. By the time we see Bogart's face, and people are referring to him as Rick, the expectation is that this is the guy to watch. He's
Mhm.
the mover, the shaker, but he's also very neutral. We have learned so many things about that character. That character can just be off and running. And it's a great technique to introduce the character. What do you say about the introduction of Rick in Casablanca, Professor Simmons?
Like the way I met you. No.
Yes, there was a lot of talk
Yeah,
about me,
yeah, right.
mostly APBs and police chatter, but
There was a picture of him in the post office, but we don't need to go into that. No, Casablanca is one of those wonderful films that happened in spite of itself. And I think it was a
yeah,
great team coming together slowly to make it possible. It was Bogart as Rick, the lead character, as you were saying, and you also had Ingrid Bergman, Paul Henry, Peter Lorre. So you had some actors who had some substance to them. They also had a mystique about them. Ingrid Bergman was just a beautiful woman who always played these roles that you cared about her. She was trying to do
right, right.
something that was important and you cared about her. She was never really selfish. And so we automatically, when we get to know her, there's something about her that we're already embracing. And the
And they
people,
always shoot her one shots with a different lens.
yes,
So
yes.
she looks even that much more alluring.
And as you said, the people who talk about Rick before we get to meet him, they also have a certain aura about them that they're concerned, they're worried, there's some, and Rick can maybe make it right. So yeah, it's a great way to introduce the character.
Right,
And you also use another phrase, he's neutral. And that
right.
plays a very important part in the story because
Oh yeah,
up till a certain point in the tale, without giving away too much, because yeah, the film is 1943. If you haven't seen it yet, here's your chance. But his position in Morocco, which is where this is taking place, his position in the middle of all that, his neutrality is like a force field. It has protected him in certain ways. It's allowed him to mingle with the forces that are building in that arena. And then something happens that may just bring that all down or may
right,
skyrocket him into a whole nother situation.
right,
And so meeting him in this calm, commanding, everyone needs me kind of position,
all right.
it's a great setup for everything that he's going to have to go through as the story continues.
Yeah, and I want to give a shout out to Julius and Philip Epstein and Howard Koch or Koch. I'm not sure
Koch,
how he pronounce. Huh?
Koch.
Koch. Yeah.
Yes.
There's it depends on the family and the amount of money in the bank how you pronounce that. We know the Koch brothers spelled the same damn way. Anyway, I was lucky enough to take a screenwriting course where one of the guest speakers was Julian Epstein. And we watched the film and then talked all about it. And the thing that I think people miss about Casablanca is that it's really funny. There's a lot of intrigue. There's a lot of cross patriotisms between the different countries. There is definitely a mystery and thriller aspect, but it is funny. The characters are great. The great Peter Lorre is in that film.
Mm-hmm.
And Julius talks about how the thing that he stressed in the class was that none of the three of us sat down there writing a classic. We were contract writers. And we kept working at it. This was a film that evolved in rewrites up to and including the very last scene, which was written between setups. They were fixing the lights and the camera angle, and these guys are on an old-fashioned typewriter typing up possibilities for the final lines. So one of the great things to do when you're watching Casablanca is to remember the humanity of these craftsmen. They weren't wizards. They weren't gods from on high. They were craftsmen working for a paycheck, and they created a masterpiece. And that gives all of us hope. But this is one of the great, and you can watch one of the, again, another thing that gives Casablanca, it's such a worthwhile film to watch more than once, is that each and every one of the characters have great entrances. They have their personalities are delineated immediately. The chief of police is hilarious.
Yeah.
Never cracks a smile himself.
Paul Henry.
You know,
Yeah.
oh yeah, fantastic.
Yeah.
The entire thing is fantastic. But that's a great example of referencing the hero before you meet the hero.
Yeah.
Phase one.
Absolutely.
All right, we're going to go to step two or example two, and that is seeing the exterior hero in action before you meet the interior hero. And there might be no better example than Indiana Jones Raiders of the Lost Ark, because I think it's first 5 or 10 minutes of that movie is this fast-paced series of escalating dangers that incongruous person is going through. Our swashbuckling hero cachet, our file of swashbuckling heroes require a big sword, a gun, a superpower. This guy has a fedora and a whip, bullwhip at that. And on paper, if it wasn't people who already had the kind of sway that George Lucas and Steven Spielberg had, if it's Alex Simmons or Chris Ryan pitching this to Hollywood, we may not get past the front door. Yeah, but he's got a bullwhip, no, and a fedora, no. But
it's a dirty fedora too.
dirty, yeah, and he's not the greatest at everything. Sometimes he looks really scared.
Yeah.
But he's what we see besides an homage to the great pulpy heroes and Saturday matinees and all those adventure stories that actually were the inspiration for Alex building the Wayback Machine, so he could go back and enjoy it again and again, all the stuff he watched the first 100 years of his life.
Gonna hurt him.
What we see in the opening, say, 10 minutes of Raiders of the Lost Ark is a masterclass in action, a masterclass in cinematography. Just watch the work with shadows. Just watch the framing of the hero, right? But what I want to talk about is that all of that glorious stuff, the taking of the idol, the traps, the natives, the villain, all of that is all setup of exterior hero. Up to the start the plane, and he's running and he jumps into the cockpit, and you think it's over, and then there's a snake in here. I hate snakes, and all of that is the Indiana Jones hero version. And that what always fascinated me is that Spielberg and Lucas challenged the audience after all of that. That was popcorn frenzy, that opening. And then they take us to college, and they take us to class, and we see the same exact guy. And that guy is much more boring.
And
The
awkward.
sheer nerve to watch him not in action is fascinating. And that incongruity makes us realize this is his secret identity. This is
this is Clark Kent here.
yeah. And now we're in that one area where we shouldn't be more interested. It works to the character's benefit, to the film and the story's benefit. Why are we here? Why would he do this? Why isn't he still out in the jungle or running around, jumping, frumping, doing all that other stuff? And it informs and deepens and widens the film, the character, lets us get a fascinating, masterful scene of exposition. And we're into the whole legend of Indiana Jones. And that is showing the exterior hero before we get to experience the interior. It's fascinating. It's a major risk, but done well. Wow.
Now, it's funny. The Clark Kent Superman metaphor or comparisons is obvious there, but it also does something else too, because Clark Kent, yeah, he's a reporter and he has a life and all that. But Superman is where he excels and where he affects life and impacts on the world, the globe, the universe. What's interesting, though, is with Indiana Jones or Professor Jones, is we're given the understanding that this is a man, this is a person who's intelligent, who has studied deeply, done research. He knows fact and points of reference that are so obscure.
Right.
He is passionate about this. He loves this stuff. He loves this stuff so much that he will put his life in danger to find it, to reveal it. And
that's the secret.
Right. And unlike many who would do it for the fame and the money that he could possibly gain from it, he's doing it because he's discovering these things and he wants to show them. He wants to share them with the rest of the world. He wants to have it on exhibit and so people can learn more. And so there's a moral compass in there.
Right.
But we also learn as the story unfolds that he has veered off of the morality track on occasions. So we're getting these multi-layers of his persona. So he's not a pure hero. He's a flawed hero. And those are the fascinating things about that hero that I sat there just, he can be scared. He can be this. He can do that. And he can be a dog too. Yeah.
We saw the action opening, right? That sequence as the who he is. But then the college sequence is the why he is. And that is a brilliant way to delineate a hero. And then we get to see some of his, wait a minute, he did what to who?
That's a great thing because they could have just run the rest of the story as pure action, up against the bad guys, up against the bad guys, up against the bad guys, get a kiss. But instead, they use that the rest of the story. Yeah, he's going up against these adversaries and these conflicts, but we're learning his backstory.
Yeah.
We're learning a bit more about who he is as a person and where his level of obsession over these things. He has deeper feelings for other people and other things. So there's more to this man than just action adventurer.
And you know what I would say about that?
Excuse me?
Go ahead, sir.
No, I was just going to say one of the key scenes in there, not to give away anything, but there's a point in the film where he thinks he's experienced what he thinks is a great loss. And we're thinking, yeah, but the other thing, the MacGuffin that's still out there. There's still bad guys and everything. And he doesn't give a flying squirrel because he's in pain. Yeah. And we can see, and there's a darker pain too. Because at the moment where he's going, let's just do this. Let's just bring it on. And we understand he's not indestructible. He's not Rambo. It's not one guy with a bow and arrow against 37,000 people with guns. So the levels of character development for him in this film are really well handled, really well studied.
And I would say about that, Alex, that we can probably do another 1 or 2 episodes, one on backstory and one on developing the moral levels of a character or something like that, which is a reason why people should like and subscribe so they don't miss those when we eventually get to them.
Yeah, right. 'Cause I often say people don't go to the movies to watch scenery. They don't.
Right.
They like special effects, they like the music. That's great. But they go there to watch the characters go
Yeah.
through the hoops.
And that's a great segue for our next section because the difference between the old pulps of the 40s, where it was action, and say Indiana Jones or this next one we're going to talk about, is that there is more attention to the inner life. We get to see the action in Indiana Jones, and then we get introduced to the inner life, exterior to interior. This next film flips that, and we see the why way before we see the who, not the band. So what we're talking about, that movie we're going to talk about, based on 60, 70 years of comic books, right, is Captain America, the First Avenger. And what the Marvel Cinematic Universe did for this film is they went and spent an interesting amount of time developing the interior.
Mm-hmm.
We saw the 90-pound weakling who was Steve Rogers. We saw the kind of person he was, the belief in his country, the justification. There's a great moment between him and Bucky, his neighborhood buddy, who there's a whole storyline that extends throughout the arc of their friendship, one of the great
Mm-hmm.
friendships, MCU. Bucky is like, why don't you just calm down? Because Steve Rogers is going from enlistment place to enlistment place and getting 4F'd, failed, won't take him as a volunteer into the army during the greatest war in American history.
At that time, absolutely.
At that time, you would think they would take everybody, but he wasn't healthy enough for that. And the frustration that his heart was stronger than the rest of his body. It was just, you could see the pain he was in. And because Bucky loved his friend, he says, why don't you just relax? Stay home. There's plenty you can do here. And it gives us an opportunity to really see who Steve Rogers is, because he says there are people who are laying down their lives for this country against that evil. How can I do any less? That moral responsibility to do for others is vividly and repeatedly shown, right? When he's going up against the bully and he says, I can do this all day. And
Yeah,
he's
and
going
he's
to get
getting
his
the crap
ass
beaten
kicked.
out of him. Yeah, right.
His
Yeah,
ass kicked.
yeah.
Yeah, because the other guy's so much bigger, and thank God Bucky shows. But that's the interior of Steve Rogers. There's a scene, I think it's Dr. Epstein, I think that's his name as well, with the guy who created the super soldiers, or Eckstein, I think, the guy who created the super soldier serum, where he talks to Steve Rogers, about why him,
Mhm.
why not some big guy. I'm going to paraphrase because he says, big guy. He is never had to fear. But the little guy, he knows what it is to gain power.
Mhm.
He knows and will remember what it is to be powerless. So he will remember the people he's fighting for. Now, purists will say, you got 62% of that quote wrong, but the essence is there, right? It is the why this guy above all others, right? There's even the training camp in the armies where Tommy Lee Jones is like anybody but him. And the doctors know exactly him. And then the experiment goes on, and it sounds like it's going wrong almost immediately. And they're going to cancel, they're going to turn everything off. And it's from inside. And in the middle of all that pain is Steve Rogers says, no, I can do this. And we understand from all that we've seen in the first 20 minutes or so that it's the why he
Mm-hmm.
is the way he is that makes him say, I can do this, and is
Mm-hmm.
willing to undergo the pain so that when it opens and the Captain America body is revealed, the body so good looking that Peggy Carter has to cop a feel, we understand that now he has the apex of human development as a body that can match who he is inside.
Yeah.
And of course, a Nazi kills the doctor, and he chases the Nazi before anyone can call him Captain America, give him a uniform, tell him how they want him to behave. He behaves
Instantly. Yeah.
instantly and
Yeah.
at risk of his own safety to bring this to justice.
Mm-hmm.
That's who he is. So we see here the interior hero before we see the exterior hero. And because of that, we believe Captain America is the hero who embodies the ideal of America, the idea of America, that anybody who tries their hardest, who believes and works hard can be something in this country, right? And that sustained, that setup sustains that character for over 20 movies,
Yeah.
and it deepens. And there is a flaw in there, despite it looking like he's the perfect guy. There's a flaw that it takes over 20 movies for him to overcome in
Mm-hmm.
himself and become whole. It's excellent technique. So now we have referencing the hero before revealing the hero. We have showing the exterior hero and then revealing the interior hero, or showing the interior hero and then revealing the exterior hero, as three possible methods that you can apply to tell your own damn story. How's that, Alex Simmons?
I'm going to go read another hero story because I'm inspired now. It's really well done, Chris. And it's interesting too, because the only thing I could even possibly try and add to this today is you made a reference at the very beginning about something to the effect of there's different ways of looking at who is a hero or something like that.
Sure.
And one of the things that I particularly flashed on when you said that was a one of Vin Diesel's early movies called Pitch Black,
Mm-hmm.
where he is the protagonist in the story. He is ultimately the hero, or better described, anti-hero in the film, but he's also a dangerous villain in the film. He's so dangerous a villain that it starts out that he's been captured by galactic, it's a sci-fi thing. So he's been captured by these galactic police, and they're taking him to prison, and he's locked in this special chair, and he's got this visor over his eyes, and he's something to fear. And then they land on this planet with these scientists, and something horrible is happening there. And slowly but surely, the good guys aren't enough to deal with these things that are coming for them. And the innocents find themselves dependent on this villain character as a potential protector. And for the audience, we don't know if he's going to protect them, and if he does protect them, is it for an ulterior motive?
Right.
Because at any moment he could turn on them.
And I would go ahead.
I was just going to say that he's presented to us as one thing to begin with, and then as the story moves out or expands and proceeds, we learn how what he is has levels to it.
Right.
He's never really weak, but he has another level. There's another consciousness or code that he exists by in there, and that is revealed to us. But initially, what we see him as is this dangerous force to be reckoned with, and that we don't know if we can trust him. And that's really an interesting to watch him become heroic, even towards the end of the film, us still not sure what he's going to do.
And these three are, and if anyone got the impression that these were the only three, I hope
No.
that Alex dissuaded you of that. These are only three of so many variations. It might be interesting, Alex, if someone has a different hero introduction that they can share. Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz, she's not introduced as a hero. She's a petulant kid, right? So is Luke Skywalker. There's so many different variations, but the idea is here's three to start you. And if there are some that you want to hear us talk on, we'll do those as well.
Here's one more. Oh my goodness. Just as I started to say, is it Crush? Oh my goodness. Okay. I'm going to talk about it very briefly, but I'm trying to remember the name as I go. It's a story about this black kid who's being raised in an urban environment in a poor neighborhood, and he doesn't have his parents are not in the picture anymore, and he has an older sister who's having problems of her own and involved with some bad people, and he is actually running errands for a drug dealer. He's like maybe 14. But any money he makes, he's stuffing away in a coffee can hidden in a derelict area of the neighborhood because he wants to amass enough money that he can get him and his sister out of there and into a better life. And he's Fresh. That's the name of the film. And
as opposed to Crush. That's
right. It's Fresh. And Samuel L. Jackson plays his estranged, that's it. Samuel L. Jackson plays his estranged father, who he only meets in the West Village to play speed chess with. And this is how his father is teaching him life lessons. And a series of things happen to where this boy has to take on the very people that he's been working for in an effort to try and save his life, his sister's life, and deal some sort of justice for what's happened to someone he cares about. And just, again, he's not a pure little innocent kid. He's a kid who's been living in a series of unfortunate circumstances who must rise to the occasion and use whatever agency he has to see if he can possibly survive and overcome. And it's, again, another kind of a hero model that is not nice kid becomes nice guy, becomes nice hero. It's someone who has to do the right thing or just do enough of the right things to maybe get over and get out. And so, again, you're right. There's all of these variations of the model. But what you've talked about is you've shown us structure that can be utilized to reveal heroes in these different circumstances.
And they are manipulative, malleable, but you can change them slightly. It's Joseph Campbell's Hero with 1,000 Faces. And then there's another rule. It's in the appendix of that book, Joseph Campbell's book. It's Hero with 1,000 Faces. And then the last little entry is, and it always helps to have Samuel L. Jackson with you. Well, he's in Fresh. He's in Captain America, the First Avenger.
He's in one of the Star Wars movies.
He's the fourth guy to the left in the Nazi scene in Raiders of the Last Ark. And in the back of Rick's, there's a baby. That's Samuel L. Jackson. So there you go. It's probably federal law. If you want to tell a successful story, find a place for Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we hope that you enjoy this. We hope that you'll like it and you'll subscribe and you'll give us your comments in the back, in the bottom, or on our social media pages on Facebook and other places. And Alex and I will be back.
Yes, we will.
Tell you more ways that you can help yourself tell your own damn story. All right, sir.
Take care, Chris.
Peace to you. Peace to everybody.
Yes, balloons for everybody.
And balloons. It is balloons.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Thanks.